The NBA is absolutely horrified of this as we have a huge update surrounding Luka Doncic that not many people are talking about that not only changes the outlook of the season that is coming up for the Lakers, but is way better than we initially thought. We're to write down that crazy update and also discuss some other interesting notes surrounding the Lakers. But before we get into it all, if you're part of the percentage who aren't subscribed to the channel, this is the place to be for daily Lakers content. You guys have been absolute beasts with the support, so make sure to hit that subscribe button. Thank you guys again for your support, folks. There's a new update surrounding Luka Doncic that has come out recently, and again, he played yesterday. And it was really interesting to see and a lot of things to dive into. And let's start with just his quick, overview of his box score against Germany in case you missed it. But there's an update that people are starting to talk about, but there's something within this that not a lot of people are talking about that I want to dive into that is horrifying for the rest of the NBA. So we saw it against Germany. He scored 19 points, went 5 for 11 from the field, 3 for 6 from 3. Free throws a little bit concerning. But I'm going to dive into his actual game a little bit. But I want to start with this. Let's look at his before and after pictures. And a new report has dropped from Slovenia, like a news outlet out there in Slovenia. He is down 31 pounds, ladies and gentlemen. Yes, 31 pounds. And I covered it, I've covered it in the videos throughout this offseason, how crucial it is for him to, of course, get in shape. This was obviously fueled partly by, Nico Harrison calling him out for his defense, all these different things when he got traded, and partly for some other reasons as well. He is not only in the best shape of his life, it obviously translated to the game against Germany, which we'll dive into, but a report dropped that 30 pounds he lost, 31 pounds, over 30 pounds this offseason. And we know he signed that 3-year deal with $165 million, a little bit ago. And we know how good he is. However, we saw his physique go from his rookie year to whatever. I was never, it's good to see, especially for the future of this team, for Luka Doncic to get in good shape. It'll help defensively. It'll help most importantly with staying healthy. But the Slovenian media saying he lost 31 pounds is wild because some people were saying that it's just the angle, it's just the lighting. His beard is shorter now, so his jawline's better and he looks, skinnier. It's not the case. He lost 31 pounds. You can see the picture there on the right side from overtime. Like, he looks much thinner. And if you had the privilege to watch the game against Germany, he looked better in the fast break. He looked quicker on his feet. We see him warming up, dunking the ball, and feeling better overall. And at the end of the day, he is an extremely different, not player, the same player, I think, obviously, or at least, for the most part, but just a completely different, energy out there. That's the best way to put it. And again, in case you missed it, Slovenian media said he dropped 31 pounds, and ultimately, there was, Nico Harrison, cited his conditioning, worry, his defensive worry, all these different things. Luka took that either personally, but reports also came out that Luka was going to, fix his conditioning regardless, without or with Nico Harrison's, trading him from the Mavericks, and he had it all planned this entire time. But folks, to lose 30 pounds is not anything that's, that's difficult to do. And obviously for Luka Doncic, it's huge. And I want to dive into what this said from the highlight show. Luka looked really good in the first half, being aggressive and trying his best to keep his teammates in the hunt. But in the end, Germany had too many NBA players in the roster. I'm not really worried about that. What I am worried about is how Luka Magic, kind of referring to Luka, how good he is. The way that he was moving on the court is horrifying if you're everybody else. We already know how good Luka Doncic is, and you can, quote his early days with the Mavericks and how he was much quicker on his feet. He was more athletic at the rim, finishing at the rim. If he can kind of find somewhere in the middle where he's quicker to be able to finish in the rim, quicker to be able to get by defenders, and most importantly, quicker to be able to stay healthy on the court. Like, the biggest thing for this is not the 31-pound number. It's not the exact amount of pounds that he, lost down to the exact number. It is the fact that Luka Doncic, who's 26 years old, is in the best shape of his career, arguably, right after signing an extension with the Lakers, so that he's going to be able to now go out and have the healthiest year of his career. And that's the biggest thing for him. And it's developing not just on the court, but off the court as well. We're starting to see a lot of, reports and quotes surrounding, from his Slovenian teammates and things like that, revealing how not only locked in he actually is, but at being a leader, at being a teammate, being, a coach to a degree too. Of course, the Slovenian teammates coach probably isn't the word. It's a great teammate, a mentor. He said he's embracing the challenge of being the face of the franchise in the NBA and here. And that's what he said. And I think at the end of the day, we can look at the changes they're going to make to the lineup all they want. They got They got DeAndre Ayton. They got Marcus Smart. They got all these guys. The biggest and most important one is Luka Doncic. Staying healthy, being in good shape, which matters a lot in a playoff series. We've seen it. The game slows down to a degree in the playoffs, but you have to be able to keep up, right? And I'm not saying Luka couldn't keep up last year necessarily, but he was obviously dealing with his injury, dealing with a bunch of different things. But to see him in better shape now, it will help him reduce injuries. And I think for him, that's the most important thing. Looks aside, physically, being in better shape will help reduce his injuries, but I'm sure he's doing it for the longevity of his career and the health of him actually being available to play in games, playing back-to-backs, all these different things. And regardless, you can see here the transition is noticeable. He kept a lot of his strength in his core and upper body, but shed a lot in the excess fats. That's what people are kind of starting to say. Like, if he can, and that's what I was mentioning earlier, if he can figure out, which you think he has here, losing, he doesn't want to lose his strength because he's gotten better as his career went on. Everyone talks about how glamorous he looked as a rookie. He was a fantastic rookie, obviously, but the muscle that he put on, obviously, maybe you can say some fat was added on too. I'm not a doctor. I'm not worried about that. The strength that he put on undoubtedly over the years has translated into his game. He plays a slower game. He uses his body. He gets in the post more. He can still do that. His upper body strength is still there, but he's just a bit quicker on his feet. He's a bit skinnier. He's a bit better, in fast break, better mobility, all these different things, better agility, which will translate to better overall health as it pertains to staying on the court and hopefully reducing injuries. It is huge. And to see him taking a lead on the team as well in Slovenia, obviously that'll be taking the lead in the team with the Lakers beyond LeBron James' time. Whether you want to say LeBron's the leader of the Lakers, Luka Doncic is the leader of the Lakers, whatever. I'm not going to argue either way. To lose 31 pounds in an offseason, the offseason after, your whole life changes in the sense of you pack your bags, you go to LA, you're completely done with the Mavericks, who a team that I'm sure that Luka thought he was going to spend the rest of his career with, is incredible. And the update is just absolutely fantastic. So let me know down below what your thoughts are on that. We know LeBron James' situation is fluid. Like a week ago, Rob Pelinka saying he wants LeBron to retire a Laker, and the conversations were positive. The biggest thing is Luka Doncic, and we saw him against Germany, and it was absolutely fantastic to see. Even if he struggled a bit from the free throw line, all these different things, a little bit of rust on the court. If you watch the games, he looks more agile. He looks similar strength, which is obviously the big thing. Like, you're not going to lose a ton of strength with the way that, the first-class athletes, chefs, trainers, all these different things. But at the end of the day, it's going to be interesting to see what happens with big Luka Doncic. Now, a couple other things I want to go over. And before we wrap up, I want to dive into lineups a little bit more. Now, I used a screenshot in a video, I believe it was yesterday, and I want to do it again because I find a couple things about this very interesting. Now, this was done by Jovan Buha and Tim, his aggregate rotation, basically projecting a starting lineup, projecting the minutes per game. And I want you guys once again to leave down below, not necessarily, because I got you to do in yesterday's video, if you checked it out, the minutes, obviously in the comments, I saw a few of them. Who do you think, and let me know in the comments, based on this current team, do you think this is good enough to win a championship and be a contender in the Western Conference? If so, let me know why and how you spread out the minutes. But if not, who do you think they could add? Because again, I still think Rob Pelinka's not done. There's moves to be made. They can move off of a lot of the expiring salary and Gabe Vincent, Maxi Kleber, maybe even move off Rui Hachimura. A lot of people are saying they're an Andrew Wiggins away from being a championship contender. I'm big on the Andrew Wiggins train. Fantastic defender, has gotten better as he's aged. Obviously turned his career around in Golden State, turning into a bit more of a role player. The more I look at the rotation, it's interesting. Is it good enough to be a Western Conference championship contender? I think yes. I think it is a contender, especially, and this one has Rui off of the bench, which is interesting to me because Luka Doncic loves playing with Rui Hachimura. And from all we heard, and obviously watching it, being one of the best spot-up shooters in the league and best quarter shooter in the league, it's interesting. But let me know what your thoughts are on that. Do you think this is good enough to beat, the Western Conference powerhouses, whether that's the Nuggets, whether that's the Timberwolves, whether that's the remaining champions Thunder, the reigning champions, Thunder. It's going to be interesting. Let me know down below what your thoughts are. Cheers.